Porchlight is a company that does musicals, and musicals can be a wide variety of kinds of musicals. If you're a company that does Shakespeare, you do Shakespeare, but musicals can also be all things at once, including dance musicals. That would be like 42nd Street or Anything Goes. It could be something that's a little bit more of a heavy singer musical, like Candide or Sweeney Todd. They can be actor-musician musicals, like Pump Boys and Dinettes or $1 Million Quartet. So there's a wide array of shows that fall under the umbrella of what we do at Porchlight. And all of that is taken into consideration when we're thinking about having a full slate of a season that has a wide variety of what falls under the context of what's a musical.
We are so fortunate, both as Porchlight Music Theater and just artists, to be in the city of Chicago, where we are exposed to a wide variety of talent. And that is super informative to how we craft a show. We see over 500 to 700 people a season before we even get to callbacks. And we learn a lot during that time of who is here performing and what do they bring to the table. So it naturally makes sense that we're gonna get unique perspectives and varied ideas of what a musical is. And it tells us about this is how a show can morph and change. And with that, we also get to see people who are fresh out of college and also just moved to Chicago. And we feel it's extremely important to highlight that you came to Chicago for a reason and you also came to Porchlight for a reason.
The initial people that you're going to be hiring are the director, the choreographer, and a music director. Sometimes the director might be bringing a project to us and pitching an idea. Sometimes we've already chosen the project and we're trying to identify who would be the ideal team to be at the helm of that particular show. From that point, then you get into discussions with that artistic team as to who might be the next people in line that would be bringing a vision to the show. And that would really be the designers, the costume designers, set designers, prop designers. And from there, then you're also filling out the actual technical team of who will be creating the show that the design team is now starting to envision.
My focus is primarily on all of the technical components. So the scenery, the lighting, the sound, the costumes, the props. Even as far as like musicians and things go, I work with Frankie, our associate artistic producer, and Michael Weber, our artistic director, in determining how many musicians we're going to need, what the band setup layout is going to look like, where it's going to exist, and all of those fun details that we don't really get to think about when you're watching a show.
Costume designers and other designers tend to join the design process, if you will. I guess it's more like the production process. It really depends. So it also talks about getting contracted. And that can happen, anytime between like a month beforehand to like a year. I've even heard of opera, for instance, they tend to have their things scheduled out 5-6 years in advance. And so once you usually get contracted, then it becomes the meeting with the director, meeting with the other designers, like be it scenic, be it lighting, sound, any of those directors. And it kind of becomes just march through until it's done. At that point you've read the play, you know who's cast, and you just start having conversations with the director. And so, at that point, it's anywhere between, like I said, a couple months to a year beforehand.
Once we have established who our creative team is, Michael and I will collaborate with them to understand what their vision of the show is and what they're looking for in a cast, both principal and ensemble members. Then it's paperwork for a little while. I'll submit all sorts of casting notices to different organizations to make sure people know what we are looking for when we're casting either a full season or a specific production. They'll come in, they'll share a little bit about themselves through song, and if it's specifically a dance musical, we'll get to see them dance for a little bit. Then callbacks happen, we narrow it down just a little bit more to find what we need for a show, and then voila, it takes a little bit of time, and 23 to 25 people later, we have a cast of a show.